You're welcome back to The Big Issue on City FM and City TV. You can be part of the conversation by sending us your WhatsApp messages via 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996 and 0550-585-832, 0550-585-832. We are now moving on to talk about issues regarding illegal mining because government directed the Minerals Commission to indefinitely suspend all processes leading to the issuance of licenses for mining in forest reserves nationwide. This was contained in a statement on Thursday by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, and it said the various regional security councils have been notified about the directive and are to strictly enforce it. Mr. Jinapo in his statement said many individuals and companies, under the pretext of undertaking reconnaissance or prospecting, engage in illegal mining in forest reserves, a practice that continues to have adverse consequences on the environment. We'll also be hearing from some mining CSOs on the subject and fresh allegations that appear to implicate government as well as President Akufo-Addo, who has for the umpteenth time indicated his commitment to fighting the phenomenon of illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as galamsey in Ghana.
The directive comes a week after the National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining was held between government and all stakeholders in the mining sector on how to curb illegal small-scale mining. Per the directive, the Minerals Commission is to desist from processing or granting any request for the renewal of prospecting licenses in forest reserves. The mining advisor to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Ben Aye, further explained the instruction.
We want to be sure those who are operating inappropriately are dealt with. But those who are operating legitimately, of course, that's why it's just a suspension. It's not a complete ban. It's a suspension on it. And then those who are operating legitimately would ultimately be allowed to go back to continue the operation. And we have reviewed all of them. There aren't too many such licenses in the forest reserve. There are just a few. So those we should be able to deal with fairly quickly, and as soon as we have dealt with them, then things will normalize. In Ghana, we operate under the principle of polluter pays. So when you cause pollution, then you should be made to pay for it. So along with other sanctions that will be applied, you obviously should pay for the reclamation of the land. The Forestry Commission is supposed to be in charge of our forest, so we are collaborating with them. Personally, they work under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. So we're collaborating with them to try to identify all such instances where people are operating within a forest reserve, and then appropriate action will be taken.
During the just-ended dialogue on small-scale mining, among the resolutions adopted was a charge to government to take steps to strictly apply laws and sanctions to all persons who infringe the law, irrespective of political color or socio-economic status. But how much of an impact will this directive have on the sector? Godwin Ama is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners.
Those who are doing it illegally should be forced to reclaim and reforestate the places that they degraded. If you've degraded an area and the minister says they should move the equipment out, who is going to reclaim those places? So I think we should ensure that those who have done the illegality should pay for the cost, because those who have been issued with permits, per their permit conditions, they will do the reclamation, reforestation, and also there are bonds that they pay to ensure that if they don't do the right thing, government will hold that bond, fall on that bond to do the reclamation.
The National Land Policy of 1999 states further in Section 44B that, and I quote, all lands declared as forest reserves, strict nature reserves, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and similar land categories constitutes Ghana's permanent forest reserves and wildlife estates and are fully protected for ecosystem maintenance, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable timber production. The state, ladies and gentlemen, in the past granted mining rights to companies like AngloGold, Newmont, and Savasem to mine in protected forests of Kubi, Ejenuabepo, and Yakumbra forest reserves, respectively. We wish to call on government to place a moratorium on the granting of mine leases and permits for all surface mining operations in Ghana, as we engage in cost-benefit analysis, which takes into consideration the social, economic, cultural, and environmental costs of mining.
President Akufo-Addo reiterated his position on illegal mining and promised that he will use his second term to end it.
Ya ye brim, ye hu de aye. Proud. And cobra. Nso kese organ nyina ene. E say. Na masim hia pa se bepe kwan bi. Na ye yisa galam say no free me. First time. Yeah. Nanso enu baby akase say do no. This time round, in social media, what did so cool baby shemu? My man in I between who say ampa, many brasam. The Queen Biason, as I say, eager, and I'm saying no, if we are setremo. Now, as I say no, any issue, ne japadea, and nana nudi jay, yes, when your BBI the beja, one is so ebano. Ni ashada amfe na nsi form ame ani anya denwa na adan nyina be boyen na frias yesem. It's that's what I can say. I intend to do everything within my power in this second term to bring this Galamsey menace to a conclusion.
That's President Akufo-Addo there. He has reaffirmed his commitment to fighting illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, in Ghana. Let us know what you make of the president's statement. I want to start with you, Honorable Inisa Hussaini, on this one. Before we even get to the ban imposed by the minister, the president has said again that the second time he will work at it and end it.
There's more to it than words. It's action that is required. But I agree with the president. And I challenge him to put in more effort. Because he said all the right things. I mean, you know the Ghana ecosystem that we have has taken millions of years to where it is. If you have read some history, you have come across instances where historians will cite that our ancestors used to teeter their horses on bars of gold. You know, the goldsmiths they were part of the local industry of fabricating gold ornaments. So our ancestors knew of the prevalence of gold in Ghana. They knew, and they knew its wealth. They never prospected for gold in water bodies. They never destroyed the forest cover for gold. They handed to us, this generation, an ecosystem that we were proud of. That we could even beat our chest and say that we are the largest producer of cocoa in the world. That's what they handed over to us. What are we handing over to the next generation? I mean, Ensu, Ayinsu, Pra, and Cobra. People used to take calabash, fetch water from them, and drink. Can they do that today? The water systems over there used to support a vigorous and vibrant life. Aquaculture, is it there? So we cannot allow these greedy people to destroy this country for us. We cannot, and we must not. And now it's all about leadership. These past few days, I've been wondering, Ivory Coast has the same ecosystem with us, almost the same mineralization with us. Why isn't there galamsey in Ivory Coast? Is there something? Is it a curse from God or what? Why are we doing this to ourselves? That the president must act. So a few years ago, KB, his backyard, was declared the headquarters of galamsey. There was an uproar. But that was true. That was true. I paid a visit to KB, and I was shocked of the nearness of galamsey activities to the centers of local authority in GB. I was shocked. So they could not pretend not to know of the existence of this menace. They could not. And we all were shocked. And I had said that if there's evidence, we will move against some people. Mr. President, it's true. If you can't create any legacy at all, a lasting legacy will be to mitigate the harmful effects of illegal small-scale mining in this country by banning such activities. If we so do, it's not only this generation, future generations will laud you. Because even these water bodies that we are talking about, it will take millions of years, decades, to be able to restore them. And I always tell widows in towns that we should not deride ourselves into thinking that we are insulated against the ravaging effects of small-scale mining. If you are not tied to people living in the area by blood, the things that they use in mining, the chemicals that they use in mining can seep into things that you consume. Yes. Remember so many years ago we had Obuasanka. Why did we call it Obuasanka? It was because it was too sweet. So you go to the Kajetia market and they tell Obuasanka. You know why it was sweet?
Yeah.
The chemicals were seeping into the orange. And then we were drinking orange that was contaminated with chemicals. But the chemicals made the oranges sweet. And we were drinking them, sucking them, and thinking that Obuasanka is good. That is what we do to ourselves. And so, Mr. President, and I still remember you sounding very loudly at the National Consultative Dialogue, and I agree entirely with you, that mining can create wealth. Mining can create incomes for persons who are otherwise without income. Mining can catalyze the development, can propel the development of this country. But mining should not and must not be done at the expense of the environment. And that should be the guiding principle for my dear brother, Sam Abujinapo. Whatever, and here I'm not even limiting it to small-scale mining. I'm saying that whoever, and the Wakam has stated it carefully, whoever is involved in mining, that activity must not be to the detriment of the environment. Mr. Abu, Jinapo, you must find a way to secure a balance between the protection of the ecosystem, the environment that we have, and the desire to extract minerals from the ground. We must find that balance. If not, we will leave for the future generation misery and despondency, and they will hold us, this present generation, accountable or responsible, because we might not be there again. They can't hold us accountable. They will hold us responsible for their plight. You know, you are the Deputy Attorney General. You know, even environmental degradation is now being thought of in terms of crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the ecosystem is like that. You need to understand it to appreciate why we should fight galamsey. God creates human beings and creates trees. Somehow there's a symbiotic existence between us and trees. What we exhale is what they combine with sunlight to produce through photosynthesis to produce their food. Their byproduct is what we inhale. So you see why a tree is important for the existence of a human being. So why will we allow? We should not, even if you are not interested in gold mining, or you should not allow anybody to cut down a tree. Because cutting down a tree means that depriving you of sufficient quantities of oxygen to breathe in.
Right. Honorable Pemka, let me come to you. And also, I would like you to touch on, they say that there's a lot of talk, but very little action when people are found culpable of mining in the water bodies or in unapproved areas. We don't seem to see much action in bringing these persons to book.
Well, you see, I think there's some action. The point I would like to make is that there may not be so much publicity about those aspects. Okay. And again, if you look at it, and with all sincerity, the majority of the people who end up being arrested for galamsey are the small flies. I like making this statement time and again that a Ghanaian writer said that there's a proverbial fishing net in Ghana. Thrown into the sea, it catches the smaller fishes. And for the bigger ones, they pass through the holes of the net. That's the proverbial fishing net. I'm saying this because, you see, if you look at galamsey, the root cause of it, there are kingpins behind it. Yeah. There are big faces and big personalities who drive it. But they drive it at a distance with a remote control and put smaller victims at the risk of their lives for them to bat in their wealth. So this is the fundamental problem that we are facing. You have a person comfortably seated in Accra, but making thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars from galamsey. All he needs to do is to push some innocent people from villages to congregate there and ransack the environment with impunity and recklessness and bring the proceeds to him. And then they get some peanuts. So when you soup, you are going to get the few victims who are on the ground. And what do? You exact penal consequences, such as what the law that we all sat in Parliament and passed. And my brother, elder brother, was a very instrumental person in the amendment to the minerals and mining law, which makes it punitive for galamsey people, offenders, to be imprisoned up to 15 years and etc. When you get these smaller flies, you get them incarcerated and all that, and nobody hears it anyway. The bigger ones will continue to sponsor other people who are outside to go back there and still ransack the place. So for us to succeed, we may have to change the approach and look for the real culprits behind the whole act. Once those people are dealt with, then we are tackling the root cause of the problem. Otherwise, we'll be window dressing, and every day we'll come back to the same thing. I can see so much pain in His Excellency the President. You could see his demeanor. He really means what he's talking about. But again, at the end of the day, His Excellency the President himself will not go to the riverside to go and implement the policies. He's going to let state officials go and carry out these. And those state officials, if they are not committed, they could compromise themselves. Look, there are some stories sitting from where I am and from where I was as Deputy Attorney, some of the pieces of information I had, you know, that if you put it in the public domain, it's so frightening. I can tell you, madam, that galamsey It's an endemic problem. And I made a statement once upon a time, and let me reiterate that statement, that we perhaps are on our way to either committing mass suicide or mass murder.
Yeah.
That's what we are preparing ourselves for. Because I am just imagining 10 years from now, if the fight against Galamsey does not succeed, where we are going to be as a country. Because the very people whose livelihoods we claim are being sustained by this will be worse affected. Innocent people are going to be affected, and generations may become extinct as a result of the recklessness of the actions of today. So His Excellency the President's commitment, which I have no doubt at all about, looking at the record in the first term, remember that I keep saying this, if you look at the typical endemic mining areas in the country, His Excellency the President lost in the presidential election. So if you look at Western Region, Amenfi East, Amenfi West, Amenfi Central, Prestia, Huni Valley, all that, the New Patriotic Party lost. That's to tell you something, that those were the areas where we had so much Galamsey being carried out, and the attempt to fight it with vigor and renewed hope by His Excellency the President led to the losing of all those seats along those lines. Even those of us from rural Ghana who were MPs, our areas there is no Galamsey, but you have a large number of our youth migrating to the areas where Galamsey is. I had some of those boys who came back and waged vigorous campaign against me and against the government of the New Patriotic Party, because they said their only means of livelihood was Galamsey, that they were being chased away and arrested and brutalized. So many of them came back home and waged relentless campaign against the New Patriotic Party. But I think that they were making a mistake, because I don't think that if in a likely event that there was a change of government, that government will come and say, go ahead and do Galamsey. I very much doubt whether we'll ever have a president in Ghana who will come and announce that, look, Galamsey is a means of livelihood, go ahead and do it. I'm very much in doubt. But as I indicated, we need to implement the laws to the latter. I have indicated to you that you can go to jail for up to 15 years for engaging in Galamsey, sometimes without the option of a fine at all. If we publish a list of some of these people who have gone into jail as a result of this, and we continue to hammer the consequences of your arrest on suspicion of engaging in Galamsey or really engaging in Galamsey and etc., it will deter people, because the essence of that law was to bring in deterrence as one of the principles of law, to ensure that people become afraid that the consequences of engaging in this is costly for my life. That was the purpose. As he rightly pointed out, scientifically there's a nexus, a connection between the environment and our existence. And as was once said by someone, the last tree dies, the last man dies. Yeah. And he talked about the principle of symbiosis, coexistence. We depend on the environment depends on us. And that is why I want to use this opportunity to commend my younger brother, the Honorable Minister for Lands. He started so well. He's spot on, he's fantastic, he's an example for the youth. But what I would like to encourage him to take note of is, if he relaxes along the line, all that he said and done will come to nothing.
Isn't this the same vibrancy we saw when the NPP first came to power?
No, it's not.
I have not seen this. I've not seen this before.
No. You see,
the Honorable Abu Jinapo, his style is different.
Yeah.
Did you realize that as soon as he got into office, the very second day, the first decision he took was to fight Galamsey. He started going to meet influential persons. He met His Majesty himself, Otumfuo. I recall that. He met quite a number of distinguished chiefs and opinion leaders and state entities and agencies. But there is one thing which he's fighting now and which he has sought to stop, which baffles me. Mining or prospecting in the forest. Those people were granted license. By whom?
By whom?
We'll come to that. Let's go on to Zoom. Let's get to our guest on Zoom now. Hanosun Quarantine is the Associate Executive Director for WACAM. WACAM is Wasa Menfi communities affected by mining. Good morning to you, madam.
Good morning. WACAM is just a WACAM.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It used to be Wasa Association of Communities Affected
by mining. Right now, it's just WACAM. Okay.
It's just WACAM.
Okay. Thank you for that. You have raised concern, and you are even alleging that there's some level of mining ongoing near the Mole National Park.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to your audience. Before then, I would just want to chip in a few points about those whole menace that confront us, and the tendency to reduce the discussions to just galamsey and small-scale mining. What I know for a fact is that the real issue has to deal with surface mining and how surface mining was not regulated in the past, which gives birth to what confronts us today. Because if you talk about legalities, somebody could have all the documentations to be a legal entity to operate as a miner. But then actions defines legality. Some actions that will be carried out will define the legalities in his or her operations. And I can recount a number of violations in the Obuasi area, in the Takwa area, in the Kenyasi area. I can count a number of them. So the real action has to deal with how we regulate surface mining in general. And then you came to the point of who granted licenses and giving entrance to those who migrate from their countries to forest reserves, to protected areas, to engage in illegalities, and whether granting the right for somebody to mine in a forest reserve should constitute good business in the country when we have laws that protected the pristine environment and was not at all a subject to be discussed when it came to mining. But we find ourselves in a situation where not only the areas near the Mole Park, but we've had Kubi, which was very close to Anglo Gold, which was mined by Anglo Gold. As we speak today, Newmont is mining a Genuabipo Forest Reserve, which had installed 10 species of plants new to science and 7 species of aquatic life that are new to science. Again, we find ourselves confronted with the problem of Anglo Gold Idiaprem, where part of new forest reserves was mined. If you go to the Sefi area, the same problem existed. And then the exploration activities in Bonsa North, Bonsa South, and then Bonsambipo in the Brong area, and then quite close to Mole, where Azuma Resources was granted the permission to engage in exploration. We need to situate the whole discussions in what necessitated the granting of rights to mine. In fact, in 2000, before 2000, in the 1990s, there were discussions with the industry, I mean the corporate entity, that gold was in the forest reserves. Why wouldn't you give us the permission to mine? And so the discussions led to a development of guidelines, which was completed in 2002, 2003, to allow 2% of the protected areas to be mined. And we raised hell around that, but nobody listened to us at that time. When I say we, I mean civil society groups, not only WACAM.
Right.
And subsequently, we saw that the argument being put across was that, yes, they have been given the right to do exploratory work. And so what we need to do was that the guidelines was going to develop what was termed the business biodiversity offset programs, which would create more forests. But Honorable Indus said it clearly. You cannot recreate ecosystems. You cannot recreate habitats. And we need all these organisms. And my concern about what may happen to Mole, or when somebody decides to mine Etiwa, or when somebody decides to mine close to the Kakum National Park, is that those facilities are in themselves providing resources which outweigh any benefit that we can get from destroying the facility for mining. And being the part of the northern region, I know that these areas are quite arid. I was very, very disappointed when I saw mining going on around the Bolgatanga area, where we visited the Bani areas and things like that. The place is so dry. The people were looking so miserable because agriculture was failing. And then you chose to give such lands for mining, and I felt that was so inhumane. And Mole is also part of the catchment area that I'm concerned about. Apart from the Mole being a tourist attraction that is attracting a lot of foreigners and Ghanaians to look at, it's also a house today, habitat for many organisms that may have been endangered. And as I speak today, if we look at within our environment, we don't see vultures. Maybe some of the vultures are hiding in the Mole Park. And so once you allow exploratory work close to the Mole Park, the next moment is that the Mole Park, which I know contains some minerals, will be the subject for discussions for mining. And so I was very happy when the minister stated that they were halting any entry permits into protected areas. And I think it's not enough to end at that point.
Okay.
But then we need to move forward and then see how some of these contracts were signed. And not to blame any government, because as I said, it started in 1999 and then drifted through to this point. So all government political parties are guilty of the process. So I wouldn't want to politicize anything down. Now the action is, how do we ensure that moving forward we'll safeguard what is left and then also try to reclaim what has been destroyed, meaning that we've destroyed a lot of the protected pristine environment. How do we ensure that if mining activities are ongoing now, we halt that? And then how do we even ensure that in our quest to restore the earth, as the theme for the World Earth Day stated, we place a moratorium on the granting of leases, whether prospecting, mining, whatever, recognizance, licenses on every mining activity from now onwards, as we do a real cost-benefit analysis of what has been destroyed in order to find ways of restoring what we've lost before we can take major decisions as what are we going to even do with the revenues that we generate from mining. And if it means boosting industrial activities in the country to generate employment for the country, what is the timelines that we have in place to ensure that in now exercising that right to generate employment, we do not go beyond bonds and then create more problems than we have now. Now we are in a crisis. No doubt that if we continue like that, we are not going to survive as a state. The Honorable Minister talked about 10 years. I'm thinking about 3 years because we are losing everything. And once a human being loses the value, the cultural identity, and all those things that go with that, we do not qualify to be called human beings. And that for me is worrying.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's now go to Richard Elima. He's Program Specialist, Minerals Development at the UNDP. Good morning, Mr. Elima. Thank you for joining us. You've heard the various thoughts on now hearing the President again saying he's committed to the fight and the concerns and the current the ban the minister is seeking to impose on mining and prospecting in forest reserves.
Well, good morning. Good morning to my colleagues and my mentor, Auntie Hannah.
Good morning,
Yeah, it's quite worrying, very, very worrying. I was reading a few statistics the other day and I was shocked that Ghana is the country that is losing its rainforest as the fastest rate in the world, the whole world. We are losing our forest cover at the fastest rate. And that should be quite worrying to us. Clearly, we are in a crisis. Between 2016 and 2017, we lost over 60% of our forest cover. And over the past century, we have lost over 3/4 of our forest cover. So that tells you we have a very grim picture. So the minister's directive, I think, is in the right direction. But as Antiana alluded to that fact, it is not just illegal mining that is the problem. Somebody first violated the forest and paved the way for the illegal miners to do it. And clearly, it was the decision of the government to grant leases to multinational companies to mine in the forest reserves. That, for me, is what has led to the influx of illegal miners in our forests. We have Newmont mining in forests, we have Anglo mining in forests. I mean, so the community person will also ask, why can't I also mine in the forest? That is the crux of the matter, and we need to look at it. The second thing I would like to also say has to do with government seeming contradictions when it comes to position on mining in forests. We have a government that goes for loans and goes for support to rehabilitate our forests, but at the same time also mines in forest reserves. The Tiwa Forest Reserve issue is still pending, and civil society has done a lot of work on stopping government from going ahead, but it appears government is bent on mining in the Tiwa Forest Reserve. So if government is mining in the Tiwa Forest Reserve, or government plans to mine in the Tiwa Forest Reserve, why won't other people also mine in other forest reserves? So we need some level of clarity and some level of uniformity from government when it comes to policies on the forest. Now to the Galamsey menace. I would like to stress the political angle it has taken. I think what should be done now is to leave the Minerals Commission as the face of the Galamsey fight. I say this because apparently when you have the ministers in a combative mood, walking through mining communities, talking to Galamseyers, fighting the Galamsey menace, the impression is created that they are party people who are being shielded by the minister. But if we leave the fight to the Minerals Commission, they are technocrats. I am sure they can do a better job. What the ministry can then do is to provide the needed oversight. Let us hold the Minerals Commission to account in the fight against Galamsey. We have Minerals Commission district offices across the country. Let us give them these key performance indicators. If we have Galamsey in your area, you will have a lot of questions to answer. Period. I'm sure they will then set up and do the right thing. Secondly, we need to decentralize the fight against Galamsey. As it is, most of the interventions are drawn up in Accra and then implemented in the district level. We need to bring it down to the communities. Galamsey happens in space. It happens within the communities. There are assembly members within the communities. There is a DCE or MCE in the community or district. So let us engage these people. Let us give them responsibilities. Let us hold them to account that if you are a DCE, this is what the president can do. Look, you are a DCE. If we have Galamsey in your area, you are fired. If the president is really, really serious about fighting Galamsey, it is one of the most drastic measures that we can take. The DCs live with the people. They have the local strategy to address the problem. Let us allow them to lead this fight, rather than have these technocrats in Accra designing these interventions and then going ahead to implement them. And then finally, we need to also engage our CSOs at the local level. Apparently, if you look at the entire Galamsey fight, not much is done when it comes to engagement with CSOs at the local level. We've seen Wakam work a lot in the communities, They've built solid community organizations in the community. If you want to get local people who can stand up and defend the environment, Wakam has shown the way. And I think we need to engage CSOs like Wakam in the fight against Galamsey.
Right. On your point in allowing the Minerals Commission to lead the fight against Galamsey, don't you think the minister sort of projects the seriousness of the central government in dealing with the problem?
Yes, theoretically he does. I mean, he makes comments. He comments on it. He expresses the government's own intentions on how the Galamsey fight can be done. But then, after expressing that intention, you should take a back seat and then allow the technocrats to lead the fight. I am sure they can do a better job. They are professionals. They can do a better job. And they also, the advantage is that they do not stand the risk of being politically compromised, So the minister can take a back seat, provide the needed support, provide the needed oversight, and ensure that the Minerals Commission do the right thing.
Right. Thank you very much. That's Richard Elima, Program Specialist, Development Minerals at the UNDP. A couple of messages you have been sending in. Babamu from Tamale says, good day, Abna. I think we should go beyond the political talks rather and enforce the laws. Indeed, President Akufo-Addo is still committed to fight Galamsey menace in the country. So let's all collectively help him to achieve it. You're sending regards to Honorable Joseph Pemka. Okay. Wolanyo Inakwetia, President's readiness to end prospecting in forest reserves is in order to fighting degradation of vegetation. The Land and Natural Resources Minister should only be strong to discharge his duty and end Galamsey menace. Let's all bring our hands on deck to redeem our river bodies from the dilapidated state. Franklin, I would like you to touch on the issues regarding in dealing with a menace, always identifying the small fishes or flies, so to speak. How come we never get the big ones?
Well, this is just one big movie that we are watching. And I liken it to the Apocalypso movie where everything seems to be in disarray. Look, 2 weeks ago, was it the Deputy Minister for Lands and Forestry? He was in the studio. And I recall we were asking him, he made a point that, look, the small fishes are the ones who do these things, but then the bigger ones are behind them, and somehow they never get arrested. But we do have beneficial ownership issues here. For me, once you arrest the small guys, it should be able to lead to the bigger people, really. But let's not repeat what others have said. I find it quite confounding that we are moving from one ban to another ban to another ban without taking a stock of what we've done over the last couple of years in dealing with the menace. How much money did we spend in trying to get the drones? Drones are so exact that they can get you coordinates of whoever is doing the wrong things, right? We spend millions of cities trying to get drones. We've never heard anything about how efficient those drones were. I kept watching. There was a time I watched a program on Discovery, and I saw some Americans who had mapped out the coordinates of an area in Ghana, and they came all the way to come and do some mining here. The point I'm making is quite simple. We have technology on our side. It appears to me that while we are dealing with the human aspect of this particular enterprise, even when we have not deployed technology by itself does not seem to solve the issue, because the human beings behind the technology have decided not to deploy the technology. What don't we know about mining in forest reserves? I understand clearly that some of the multinationals were given the opportunity to mine and then started this whole slippery slope to having illegal miners also do the same thing. But we do know that multinational companies are at least quite responsible. And I'm sure that they are being urged not to pollute the river bodies and what have you, otherwise they'll be found and fined. The question I have is, what are we doing to those that we find doing the illegal mining, aided with technology? We just destroy tractors, equipment, and then come back and say that, well, let's start another round of bans. We had it the first time. I suspect there were a number of people who were arrested close to the seats of government. The last time I said that this whole consultative conversation was useful. But if we had a proper audit and started punishing those who committed those crimes in the first place, I thought that's the best way to start, so that people can have some faith. I admire my good friend Abuji Napo, and I fear that he may be overwhelmed by the number of persons, vested interest, and what have you that are in this enterprise. But he should just go back to asking questions. What happens to the technology we deployed? People are using drones to do all manner of things. Here we invested in them, and we are crying foul and issuing directives here and there that will catch people, will ban this, will that. Look, bans have never effectively worked in any part of. I mean, when dealing with certain important commodities like. Well, I've said it before, alcohol and even hard drugs. The UN later learned that bans were not the best way to go about it. Even wildlife, right? You recall in Southern Africa when the natives were killing wildlife to eat, because clearly speaking, the state had not erected a system where natives would benefit. They started the revolution in Southern Africa. They encouraged the local participation of these local herders. And somehow people now see wildlife as an important investment. Americans come to kill wildlife for $100,000 per one rhino.
Right.
And the proceeds are shared in such a way people are benefiting. I'm making this last point because, you see, Richard makes a point about small fishes being punished. Last week when we had a call with one of our fellows on Galamsey, Professor Tuahine Gima, I suspect is the name, who was on the call, made an important point about distributional justice. What is the point in trying to arrest local people, small flies, who see that their livelihoods are being decimated and people are taking over their resource, and only decide to be part of the game when the bigger ones are actually left? I don't know who said, I think it was an Irish poet or Irish novelist who said that we hang the petty thieves and appoint the great ones into office. Look, this whole thing can be solved if we were truly convinced that it's gone beyond regulation. It has to do more with also technology and investments we've made and punishments and rewards.
Right. You're still watching The Big Issue on City TV. If you're listening to us on radio, this is 97.3 City FM. We are talking about issues regarding illegal small-scale mining or illegal mining, so to speak. We are taking a breather. When we return, the conversation continues.
Lawful wedded wife to have a to hold from this day forward. I do.
I knew it.
Drama saying a bit mashe. I'm a winyaji. For HD Plus, who no feely. My HD Plus, nyanyon papa palma with HD TV. For star 879 hash for subscribe it. Not chow need to feely say see ya.
Hey, Papa, no. Hey, why is your friend at all?
I was at the bar with my friend Ato. We are betting the game and tensions were high. And Ato said, Charlie, we could lose. So then I said, same day. And then, key with the header. I won 15,000. Then Ato said, wait, we bet the same amount. How come I only got 9,000? Now I asked, yo, you didn't bet to Bet Planet?
Wait. He didn't bet to Bet Planet?
I didn't bet to Bet Planet. Then the bartender said, Ato, you suck, oh. Sharp, I go take all my money. Then Ato said, all your money? That was quick, oh. He's betting people say, come for yours tomorrow. We went the next day and they said, come for the rest tomorrow.
For the best odds, biggest wins, and fastest payouts, choose Bet Planet.
So, where you there? I still take you inside.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18.
Can I show you what an excellent courier and delivery service really looks like? What is it you want delivered? Is it a document? Is it a parcel? You name it, Agro Express is here for you. They are smart, they are prompt, they are professional, and above all, they are trustworthy. They come at the best rates you can ever imagine. Contact them for all your delivery needs, and you'll thank me later. Agro Express, any day for me. Now that's a go for you. Spread the word and make sure you patronize their service too.
You're welcome back to The Big Issue on City FM and City TV. More of your messages. Siemens, you are asking, what is the difference with this directive and that of John Peter Amewu? Okay. Bernard from Amasaman. This is just talk. Now, there are sanctions, and when people go contrary to the law, they must be applied. The talking in this country is too much. People in authority only want to talk grammar, but they fail to act. Let leadership be tough and solve issues and stop the complaints. Ajiman from Dodowa. I think the only way out of the fight against Galamsey is to set up a permanent independent unit to protect the environment in general. The unit should be empowered to investigate, arrest, and prosecute independent of the Attorney General's office and possibly the Ghana Police. Heads of such bodies should not be appointed by the executive but by a committee of parliament, CSOs, representatives from the media, the Ghana Bar Association and the judiciary to solve this life-threatening problem. The big question needs to be answered. Who grants the license and who signs it? Let's put names to the issues out there, else we should forget it. Thank you for that. That's from Ajiman in Dodowa. Honorable Inusa, a number of concerns have come up, and before we went to our guests on Zoom, we're going to touch on the ban in the forest reserve. You say that this is an illegality.
So why do you ban it?
So why do you ban it?
Why do you suspend it? Why do you suspend it? That's why, first of all, I should say, Richard, yes, I agree with Richard to some extent. But the Minerals Commission should not lead the fight. They're the most complicit institution in this Galamsey.
I wanted to comment on that.
The Minerals Commission?
Yes! Yes. So, I mean, they shouldn't be talking about that. Because the Minerals, when you look at the Minerals and Mining Act, 703 as amended, 703 particularly, because only certain sections of 703 are amended. Section 18 of that says that you need a permit from the Forestry Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency. Why is this so? It is there so that when you are going to give a concession and the concession falls within the protected area, the Forestry Commission can tell you that that is not an area where mining can take place.
Yes.
And so the permit will not be granted. That is why it is there, Section 18. And under Section 4 of the law, the minister has got the right to declare certain areas as off limits for mining. The minister has got that right.
Okay.
So why are we saying that we are suspended?
He was talking about the politicization, so that you don't blame one party for collapsing your business.
More ridiculous. He says they are going to look at those who have permits and those who don't have permits, and those who have permits after being satisfied that they have permits will go back. That's what he said. How can you be? What is a reserve? It's a protected area. And because it's a protected area, everything is protected. So how can you give people permits to go and conduct reconnaissance activities or prospective activities in the forest reserve? For what? You mean when we find that the place is mineralized, we'll cut down the trees and mine? Is that what you are suggesting? It's protected, simple. And Section 18 makes it abundantly clear that the Forestry Commission can say that we don't mind that.
I anticipate suits to come very soon to challenge some of these things.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I anticipate there will be there's some kind of litigation that will bring finality to these issues. Whether we have the capacity at all to even grant that permit for anybody to go in there for recognizance.
Yes.
That's to be the fundamental and defining factor. If we don't have, then whatever action has taken place is a nullity.
You know, so that's why I said that the minister should have just, you see, this Galamsey fight, you can't fight it half-hearted. There's no way you will succeed. Yes, everybody agree. I was at the forefront some years ago. I know that there are big fishes behind it. I know. That's why I will tell Kwenka that some level of hearsay is important in this matter.
Yeah.
Because you are not going, nobody is going to come and be shouting the name of the one who is sponsoring them. No one will do that. But if a rumor on the Galamsey side becomes so pronounced that it cannot be ignored, you cause an investigation. Discreet investigation by, that's why you are a president, and that's why executive authority is vested in you under Article 58. That's the intent of the executive authority. You cause an discreet investigation, and when it is established, you confront that person with the facts and punish that person. That's how we do it.
You see,
yes.
A young man told me something in my village. He goes there, and I said, look, the consequence of Galamsey is that you go to jail for up to 15 years. He says, how will they arrest him? I asked him, he said, when they are coming, the soldiers are coming, they tell them in advance
that they are coming. That's why
the soldiers inform...
they inform them in advance that they are coming, so they should leave the place. It's unbelievable.
I tell you that that's why I've said...
The young man told me this.
That's why I said that, you see, in fighting Galamsey, people should not sit in... Look, it's more complex than we see.
It's more complex.
You can't use law and order as the beginning and end all of fighting Galamsey. The people will be compromised.
Yes.
It's filthy money.
Yeah.
They don't pay taxes. They don't account for anything.
Nothing.
They don't remediate the soil.
No.
Nothing. They just take
the destroy the environment and make the money.
Who came to visit him with gold bars didn't pay anything for
nothing.
When Wutumi displayed the gold bars, how much did he pay as tax? How much? Cheap money. And if you are going to bribe somebody with cheap money, what's your...
No, madam, if a bar is about 500,000, and then the man is prepared, he's having about 7 or 8 of that, he's prepared to compromise people with 3. What's wrong with it?
Well, so
and it's so attractive.
That is why when I was chairing the finance session, and I'm happy that it's catching on. And I told my former president that that was the way to go. It's a local fight. I mean, how can you convince me sitting here that a district chief executive or a police commander or a BNI operative in a district doesn't know that there is Galamsey taking place over there?
I cannot be convinced.
I cannot be convinced. I cannot be convinced.
Then the person is not worth staying there for a minute.
For anything.
Not worth staying there for a minute.
I haven't seen the pictures of the the forest that they went and seized the excavators. Big excavators, big one.
How they got there?
How they got there? They didn't fly. And sometimes the police give them escort. They buy the escort. Ghana, we need a radical change from our thought patterns and perception of riches. A radical change. That because everybody wants to be so rich, it has compromised our morals. It's a moral decadence in society.
Somebody wrote an article. He said a Chinese man comes to Ghana with $50,000 and goes away with $10 million.
The Chinese
$50,000. Then he goes away with...
Chinese ambassador said that the Chinese are not to blame. I said, look, this argument has been repeated several times. When I was minister,
for me, I agree with him.
I don't agree with him.
I agree with him.
Look, why?
How did they come here?
Let me tell you why I don't agree. That you see.
Do they know my village?
Because they've used that activity.
And Indigen takes him there.
No. First of all, everybody who is traveling into this country, or if you are traveling to any other country, you have a duty to know the laws of that country.
I agree.
And that duty is not obviated by the fact that an indigent lists you. You be a conspirator in the commission of a crime, or an accessory before the fact and after the fact if the crime is committed.
I agree.
So why would we say... the fact is that they knew and they know that you can compromise a lot of people here. So they cannot be exonerated from blame.
You can only to the extent of saying they say that they are criminis participis.
Yes.
You can say that.
Yes.
You can say that, but you cannot also exonerate the local people. No one is exonerating them. You cannot exonerate them. Because if you look at the whole thing, the whole Kabudo, for me, if the local people rise up in arms against any invading person, they will chase the person away anyway.
And they do, but you see, they do.
But they come and they compromise.
I went to Chicheure. When the mine pit collapsed and killed 9 miners, the Chicheure is a small community around Dunkwa. The people in Chicheure were not involved in illegal mining. People came from elsewhere
to do it.
And they were destroying their cocoa fields. They were destroying their water bodies. And they couldn't complain because they had guns. And they were supported by big chiefs sitting in Dunkwa and other places. And their children were falling in those pits. So the local community might be incapacitated. That's why you need civil society organization. Look at Etiwa. As a minister, I oppose any activity at Etiwa. Just do natural resource accounting on Etiwa. That is, natural resource accounting is what we get naturally from Etiwa. It's more than how much are we taking from Chinese? 1 billion. Or how much? If we do natural resource accounting in Etiwa alone, the thing that we get from Etiwa is more than the money that we're taking from China. And Etiwa will still be Etiwa after even we've gotten that money. So why are we seeking to destroy it to get that short-term relief? You see, so sometimes like some people blame Africans for lack of understanding of governance. Sometimes I think that the way we go about governing our countries, we actually are not implementing, and the Constitution says we should do everything for the welfare of the people of this country. But because we put a lot of power in the executive to determine the welfare, that determination might be a contorted process. And so we end up not getting the welfare. Because all the villages living around Etiwa, they've educated their children just by living on Etiwa. Wild snails. They collected them in big baskets and came to town to sell to us. A whole traditional medicine setup depends on Etiwa.
Sometimes I go and stand there and get my antelope at the roadside. I carry my thing home.
Talk about antelope. The graphic has just reported that on the mirror, somebody killed a foreign hawk and found a ring. So why do we take so much pleasure in destroying nature? So coming back to small scale, I agree. Richard Elima, yes, it's true. Illegality is illegality, whether you have a permit or not. What is the permit to do? What is the relevance of a permit for the purposes of extraction? Is to mine in accordance with the permit. It's a license, so you have to mine in accordance with the license. If you mine outside the prescription in the license, then you have breached the conditions under which you have been granted a license. And that would be a good ground to revoke the license. Okay, so that is one. Now, why we are not particularly talking about license or persons who have been licensed to mine, big miners, is that we believe that they come under the regulatory ambit of the Minerals Commission.
Okay.
And so if the Minerals Commission is not regulating them well, effective and efficient enough, then we have to call them out, because they've granted them permits, and those permits should recite the conditions under which they should mine, and they should post a bond and all those things. So that is the remit of the Minerals Commission. Small scale miners are also under the Minerals Commission, but the formalization process has taken too long. Okay, getting the license, getting resources. What appropriate technology do we use? What is the technology that do we use in small scale mining? Is there a description or a prescription of the nature of technology to use?
That's the thing.
Yeah, somebody takes an excavator, somebody takes a backhoe. What is it that we use? So we need. Have we got expertise? We have a University of Mines in Takwa. Have they designed a course where they train small scale miners on how to do responsible mining? Are we doing that? Are we building the capacity of the small scale miners? If we don't, and we even give them permits, they'll go and do it in a way that destroys the environment. So yes, and I mean, we've granted the platform, we granted an incentive, because in 1989, up to 1989, small-scale mining was an illegal activity. But we realized that many people were there with their jobs. So we granted an opportunity for people who wanted to engage in small-scale mining to take licenses. Nowhere on earth can you engage in extractive business without a permit. Nowhere. And so why will people ignore, or why will people not take advantage of the incentive regime created in the law? That's what we must interrogate. And I'm telling you, part of it is because of the formalization process, because of the time that
you see, it are so bureaucratic. And
the processes.
You see, so
cut corners to
be able to do it. And sometimes we call it the autophotos and then surveys for determining areas that are mineralized is not so comprehensive. So somebody goes with his little device and says that I think that this place has been mineralized, and then go for 25 by 25. And again, we need to review the law. 25 by 25 now, it's too small.
Yeah,
it's too small. And he goes and he takes a permit and comes to start digging, and there's nothing. He's not getting the extent of gold that he has.
So he extends it.
Meanwhile, the district mining officer is not available to check.
So that brings us to the point of monitoring, evaluation, and compliance. So if you allow any person who is business-minded and so capitalistic, the free will to operate without hindrance, he will go beyond what you have permitted him to do. And that is why he indicated that some people are complicit. If these things are given, people are given opportunity to go and mine or do recognizance, and then you find the person mining. Simplicity, the person has acted contrary to the agreement. And so you terminate and move on. You know, you're supposed to monitor 24/7 to ensure that people go in accordance with whatever has been laid down by law. But in our system, it's so laxed that somebody can engage in an illegality for 3-4 years without being noticed, or is being noticed, but no one is acting. And people sleep on their job.
Again, the reconnaissance license, the longest period that you can go is for 2 years. In exceptional cases, the minister can add 1 year. Exceptional is when your application, you put in your application for renewal, and then it delays and delays and delays. The minister can add you 1 more year. After that, it's finished. It's exhausted. Whether you find gold or not, whether you come and do prospecting or not, is exhausted.
Yeah.
Prospecting, the same. There's a time frame within which you must finish your prospecting. People take reconnaissance and they go and they're mining.
Yes.
So who is monitoring, like I said, who is monitoring the activities?
Let's hear from our friends on Zoom. Richard, it looks like your idea of the Minerals Commission being at the forefront of the fight against illegal mining appears unpopular.
Well, I think it's a question of exacting accountability from people we have given responsibility to. I raised this issue because of the political underpinnings of the Galamsey fight. If you come down to the communities, a lot of those who are engaged in Galamsey belong to either the NDC or MPP. And depending on which government is in power, you get people showing some level of defiance. So if we leave the fight in the hands of the Minerals Commission, I am sure it will help. I know very well that some officials of the Minerals Commission are complicit in the Galamsey menace. But the point is that who holds who accountable? It is an accountability mechanism we need to adopt, not to throw away that idea, because then why do we have the Minerals Commission district officers? What are they there to do? What are they there to monitor? We need to hold them to account. We need to give them key performance indicators that, look, we have given you a job to do. Make sure there is no illegal mining in this site. And then we make sure we monitor their progress and all that. But if we just throw our hands in the air that they are complicit, so we are not going to engage them, then of course we will get nowhere.
And so for you, how do we work around this? Because the two gentlemen have spoken about monitoring, compliance, And now this ban, people don't seem to think it will even be effective.
Well, I understand their frustration. I mean, listening to them, it appears there's some level of frustration about how woefully we have failed to contain the Galamsey menace. But again, I am of the school of thought that if we hold people accountable, this menace can come down to the level where we can manage it. And the people I am talking about are those Minerals Commission officials operating in their districts and the district assembly structure itself. If we centralize and we help people accountable, I am sure we can end this menace.
Right. Let me go to Hannah now.
Thank you, Abna. Well, just to contribute to the discussion, you see, it appears that in Ghana, we think the only viable economic activity has to be mining. And so all the thinking is around mining and how to do it properly or improperly. The challenge I find with the setup at the Minerals Commission is that they are the promoters of the industry. At the same time, they are the regulators. And if you look at the capacity in terms of staffing of the commission to even deal with the existing problems that confront us as a state, then you realize that we have a lot on our hands already from the commission. So allowing them to be the sole regulators may not address the issues that confront us. We did some sample minerals and mining bill. It was a sample, so we were not going against the laws of the country anyway, and presented that to the various ministries that are concerned with mining. And as part of the proposals to ensure that monitoring becomes effective, we said that because this resource belongs to all of us, we do not leave major decisions of mining or not to mine, of regulating not to regulate in the hands of those that we are paying. But then all stakeholders should be interested in the monitoring. And when I talk about stakeholders, especially the frontline communities, because they become affected immediately that there are infractions in the operations. So we need to maybe go back to the documents and see if there are relevant points that could be adopted now in the mining operations. The other thing that I want to deal with is that there's so much talk about postage of bonds as a way of addressing pollution and things like that. We know that in countries that are even strict with regulations, meaning the United States of America and other places, bond postage did not address the problems of degradation of the environment. And that's why the polluter pays principle became adopted as an international best practice. You don't create a problem and then say that the state should use resources to augment what has been posted as bonds to address the problem. Because in the United States, we know that each year that they used in the reclamation exercise, the state contributed about $12 billion to add up to the bonds that were posted by industry to address the issues. And so we need to look at that. And in regulating mining, I think I agree with the Honorable former Chief Deputy Attorney General that if you go into protected areas to mine, you yourself, you are involved in illegality because there are laws, explicit laws backing the protection of pristine environments. And I agree with the former minister, Honorable Yunusa. If you look at Section 3 and 4 of the Minerals and Mining Act, even as it is now, you see that these areas are protected and should not be a subject for mining. And it goes on in Section 4 to talk about the minister having the free hand to create more forest reserve if we find that our forests are dwindling. We need to also look at this provision in the Act, Section 17 of the Minerals and Mining Act, 2006, where when the miners link up with the Water Resource Commission, they have the free hand to use water resources within their concession areas for mining purposes, including conveying, diverting, surface, groundwater. They have the right to do anything to the water. And that is not really creating an atmosphere that we can clean our water bodies. So all these things need to be looked at. And then the powers that are vested in the minister and then the commission to take major decisions that challenge the lives and livelihoods of community people. You know, community people have rights as stated in the Act and other places. But whether they even are aware of these rights to exercise their rights is also a subject to be looked at.
Yeah. And
so we need to have a holistic approach as to how we have found ourselves in this minutes, and then how systematically we pick the issues. But certain actions need to be taken immediately if we need to begin to restore the earth and then ensure that we are not killing ourselves in the process. So we need to go back as a people collectively and not adopt this partisan approach, which gives me a lot of headache when I see that people are talking as if as for us we are this, as for us we are that, because the whole mining problem started, the surface mining problem started with the Liman administration, the Get Ghana, Get Gold slogan, and then we've run through it to this point. So we have a huge problem at hand, and we should work at it collectively as citizens of this country.
Thank you. That's Hannah Usukranting, Associate Executive Director for WACAM. Franklin, I'll pick your final thoughts on this issue of illegal mining, then we'll move to our next subject.
Well, I guess people want to create wealth for themselves. And indeed, once wealth is found on the land, it's only fair that the people closer to it benefit from it as well. So the talk about this centralized system of fighting the so-called menace is quite frankly nauseating, when everybody, including the president, is aware, and being a lawyer, that these are issues of property rights, where people sit around and then fiddle with their fingers, twiddle, and think that they cannot be part of a process where resources are just being externalized. Then you have the problem of they inviting foreigners and obviously engaging in other illegal means to extract the resource. It's a clear question of property right that ought to be dealt with. If a resource is found on my land, I should be part and parcel of the decision-making process to not just, if I'm not able to extract it, we should have an organized way of extracting it. Then I need to benefit from it. There must be a formula where people are being seen as partakers in the, should I call it, in the spores of the earth. It's a known economic principle. Hernando de Soto has told us. He's written tomes. There's a lot of people on this call who know a lot about this matter. Why are we pretending as if this matter can only be solved by high-handedness in terms of a lot of the war zone phenomena, apocalypso, jets are fighting, people are fighting, soldiers are going up and down? It will never end. We should adopt the approach we've adopted in Southern Africa. It is sensible. You can do it. That will be the beginning of the end of this menace. But if you sit in Accra, do the plan, and then go down there to implement it, and then make sure that the people do not see to be part of it because they appear to be illiterate, well, there you have it. Maybe we should start rethinking the law on when minerals are found on your land, and it exclusively belongs to the state, because the state is an organized entity that if it were a product, it would be illegal to sell.
Right. Thank you very much. That's Franklin Cudjoe. We'll be rounding up this part of the conversation with the Honorable Information Minister, Cudjoe Nkrumah, who has joined in via Zoom. Good morning. Do we have Mr. Nkrumah? Honorable, you'd have to unmute yourself. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I know you're joining us specifically for the issue regarding the NCA, but you were on that tour with the Honorable Abujinapo to some parts of the Western region on illegal mining. Tell us what you observed and collectively how the government intends to fight it briefly.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I think very simply, what we observed is what we showcased for the country to see. For example, on the River Pra, you now have persons who, under the guise of doing small-scale mining or community mining, are back on the water bodies and are seeking to mine in the riverbed. And that has caused a lot of pollution, not just of the mud and the silt, but also of chemicals and other oils, suspected mercury, etc., being used there. And the consequence is several-fold. The Ghana Water Company Limited, as we visited, now has a very difficult time trying to treat that water for the use of people in the central and parts of the western region. Not only are they having difficulties simplicity, costs have also gone up, which they currently are not even able to pass on to consumers. We are even worried. We have concerns about the residual effect of all the chemicals they are even using to treat the water on people's health in the end. And then you have the future challenges when it comes to sustainability. Aquatic life in these water bodies appears to be gone, and it has its own impact on economic activity and then the future health of the people there. So it is a major challenge which is coming back after the initial successes that were chalked. The strategy moving forward is slightly amended. It's now being more or less decentralized, but being coordinated from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. So now regional ministers and MMDCs are responsible for ensuring that it does not happen on their water bodies.
Honorable, let me interrupt you briefly. We seem to be having some challenges with your view. If you could just flip your camera a little to the landscape form so our viewers can see you.
Actually, that was a landscape form. This, I think, will be portrait. Is this better?
Okay, this is better. Thank you. Please go ahead. Yes.
So, the strategy now is to have it in a decentralized manner, where now the regional ministers and the MMDCs are responsible for ensuring that within their catchment area, it does not continue. They are supposed to get rid of all persons who are involved in mining on water bodies and in forest reserves as a first port of call. And if they require extra logistics or that, I think the central government is ready and on standby to assist them so to achieve. But I think we also must be honest in making the argument that it is not one man's problem. It is not divorce to, let's say, the president's fight or the minister's fight. It takes a concerted effort of all stakeholders across the board to achieve success in this enterprise. And to the extent that some persons will continue to feel that they are perhaps, on the fences watching, we'll continue to have challenges. We need everybody on board, media, traditional rulers. In particular, we need people from the local communities to also take responsibility that, yes, we can mine through the community mining approach. We can mine through, if we want to come together and have a large-scale mine, we can do that. But mining on or in water bodies must be a no-no. And I think it takes everybody to understand that that is a no-no and to act accordingly.
Honorable, in acting accordingly, a lot of people seem to think, or even views we've picked around this table seem to suggest that the attention is almost all the time on the small people, the small fishes in the game. We are never able to get the kingpins, the people who are really directing the affairs in this illegal mining business.
I don't think that it's an either-or situation. I think the focus is on getting rid of everybody on the water body who is mining. And we shouldn't care whether it's a big fish or a small fish. To the extent that you are on the water body mining, we need to get rid of you on the water body mining. Simplicity. If it turns out that you are not your own master, and there's someone else who is sponsoring that enterprise, yes, you'd expect the investigation to find the someone else and deal with that someone else. If it happens, and in some of the instances where security have had to move in, you find that groups of young men who come together to go and mine on the water bodies. It's not always true that it's some Chinese person behind them or some big person somewhere. The reality is that in many of the communities, you have young people coming together to do it. You have local chiefs supporting it sometimes. In some instances, you have big persons, foreigners, all involved, political people all involved. So I don't think we should make the focus about big people or small people. I think it's a very simple exercise. No mining on the water bodies. And anybody found culpable should be brought to book, big or small.
Right, thank you for that. A couple of the messages our viewers and listeners have sent through before we move to our next issue. Ganaba from UDS Nyangpala campus says criminality in the face of impunity coupled with infestation of politics, institutional breakdown, corrupt traditional rulers and lack of patriotism. That is why we are facing this issue of Galamsey. Kweku in La Paz, Ghanaians enjoy talking. The government should be bold enough to solve the Galamsey menace. Too much talking won't help. Okay, I'll just quickly read the last one and then we will move on to talk about the NC. I think we can do that right now. Within the week, there was a message from the National Communications Authority of beginning processes to shut down 49 television stations who are operating without authorization. In a press release, the NCA said it forms part of a continuous monitoring exercise conducted on various satellite free-to-air television platforms using the broadcast monitoring system and the radio spectrum monitoring system. We have a report on this particular announcement from the NCA.
10-year-old Ishmael Abdullah in Kaswa earlier this month for alleged money ritual purposes by two teenagers. There have been calls for strict regulation of media content in Ghana. This was triggered by confessions made by the two suspected teenage killers that they contacted the spiritualist through a TV program after she allegedly demanded a human being for sacrifice. The National Communications Authority's action comes after these events. Section 2.4 of the Electronic Communications Act 775 of 2008 states that, quote, except as provided by this act or any other law not consistent with this act, a person shall not operate a broadcasting system or provide a broadcasting service without frequency authorization by the authority, unquote. According to the National Communications Authority, this legislation has been breached by these 49 TV stations. The stations include Nana Agrada Standard TV, Kweku Bonsam TV, Aflau TV, TV Magic, Cash TV, and Channel 45. The rest are Sewa TV, Obo TV, Virgin TV, as well as Tamale-based Sagani TV, North TV, and many more. As part of efforts to shut down the affected stations, the NCA, in collaboration with police and national security, stormed the premises of Thunder TV on April 2020.
Right. So I'll begin with the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah on this. Honorable, so when this statement was released on the 21st of April, the NCA said they are in the process of shutting down these 49 stations. Do we know how many of them have been shut as of now?
Well, as at the last brief I had, at least one had been shut down and the persons behind it are arrested because in the matter of these 49 stations, the TA has made a determination that these are pirate stations.
Okay.
I know there are questions of the content that is being aired on these stations, but the reason for the NCA action currently is about the fact that the NCA determines that they are pirate stations. They are operating without the necessary authorization. And they are going to go through that process. Now you notice that we have a very broad consultative forum.
Yeah. We seem to be having some challenges.
Where
Okay. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. It's back now.
Yeah, so now you no longer have the NCA on its own doing it, but we have a broad consultative platform where other stakeholders are being engaged and informed that this is the reason for which this action has to be taken, so that it is understood in the broader context. So for or in the matter of these 49 stations, the understanding that we have from the NCA is that they are operating without authorization, i.e. they are pirate broadcasters, and that's why they are being taken down and being subjected to what the laws of Ghana say.
We know of a committee that was set up after that dialogue on the broadcasting bill. Is it in the aftermath of that, the work of that committee, or this was something already in the works?
So this is, may I say, related to, but not the work of the committee. We have all been worried about what we call unethical or inappropriate content on our broadcast platforms. Now, there are broadcast platforms properly registered and authorized that are involved in what you call unethical content being aired on their platforms. Those properly authorized platforms are the platforms that will be subjected to the work of this committee. But apart from those who are properly authorized, there are those that have no authorization at all that are also participating in the broadcast of unethical content. Those ones we don't, with respect, need the work of the committee to get involved. It's a simple matter of pirate broadcasting that the NCA, by its current rules, can deal with. And then you have a third matter of a substantive broadcasting law, which would, in the near future, improve the relationship between the regulators of the space. So it's about three separate matters. But I think the good thing is that all the stakeholders are involved more or less in the three separate buckets of issues that are currently being dealt with.
Okay. Honorable, one other question has been how a number of stations, like 49 of them, are able to operate for some time before they are found to be doing so without authorization.
Well, that's a legitimate question, but I think the answer is that it's better late than never.
Okay, and so going forward, what is the plan? Are we going to see more of such?
Well, moving forward, the NCA as a first line item will be very firm on broadcasting without authorization. At the second level, the stakeholders in the industry will also be very firm on the broadcast of what is determined to be unethical content. And that is where the Section 10 committee of the NMC will be doing its work. And then again, as a third item, the broadcasting law will spell out the relationship between the regulators. And we intend to be very firm on the enforcement of that law when it does come into effect.
All right. Thank you very much. We are glad you joined us. That's the Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah, Minister for Information. I can come to my guests in the studio now to continue with this one. Honorable Pemka, you'd go first on this.
Well, I have listened to the Minister carefully, and I've listened to the general commentary that accompanied. But again, I keep saying this. In the earlier conversation we had about the issue of Galamsey, I made that point, and I want to repeat it. That we can have as many as 49 stations just pirate themselves and start broadcasting. The regulator, what's happening? That I can put together some machines, just pirate something, name it a TV station, and start churning out something to the public for consumption. How do we do that? What is the legal regime for this? And what do we do as a state to avert these things from recurring? Because mind you, it is an incident that triggered all these. What the two young men did at Kaswa is what triggered where we are today. So had that not happened, what were the remedial measures in place to address that? And I think that the National Communications Authority have to be up to its task of ensuring monitoring, evaluation, and compliance once again. And also to ensure strictly that once you do not have the license granted to you to operate anything, within an hour or two after you started operating, we should have a system to track you down and close you down. Because look at the type of commodities that are marketed on these stations. Look at their modus operandi and look at the time, sometimes in the night, deep in the night, what they carry out there. When you pick Ghana CD note, it is stated clearly that it is on the authority of the Bank of Ghana. Then somebody sits on a television station and says that, bring your money, let me double it. And we watch on. Money rituals and etc. are advertised with impunity and etc. I think better be late than never. The National Communications Authority, the steps taken, and as the Minister for Employment and for Information has stated categorically, I hope that the steps that have been taken will be vigorously pursued and implemented to stop people on their tracks so that they don't take our population for granted and run us into a ditch. Because some of these vulnerable people in society watch these things. And you see, sometimes I watch wrestling, and in the end they'll tell you that do not practice this at home. You know? But so some of these things, people watch it and they imbibe it hook, line and sinker and try to implement it and carry it out. And again, myself and my brother spoke about wealth without bounds. People want to be rich overnight because our society worships and venerates those people as if they were demigods. So everybody wants to be rich. So hard work and other ways of legal means of acquiring wealth have been thrown to the dogs. So now you watch television and somebody says that, look, go and do A, B, C, D, and magically you'll be rich overnight. And so you go to experiment and implement such things without caution. And so we run into so many difficulties and our society gets rotten day in and day out. The steps taken, I am very certain beyond a shred of doubt, as the Minister has assured everybody, that the steps that are being taken by the National Communications Authority, and I know that they are doing it in collaboration with the Ministry of Information and etc., they will ensure that these acts are stopped. Because going forward, if you look at the number of television stations in Ghana, we cannot count them anymore. But the television stations should be used for the purposes for which they are intended, namely educate, inform, entertain, etc. But you don't put up these stations with intent to mislead the public or take us into the ditch. And just because people's economic conditions may not be the best, you take undue advantage of them and exploit them to the core. Sometimes some of these adverts are so attractive as to be good. So you run in there and then somebody, I mean, there was a day my little boy who drives me I sent him to the nearby station to buy me some coconut. And he got there and saw a young man crying by the junction holding a phone. He said that they had duped him of 1,500 Ghana cedis. He had not even lorry fare to get back to Tema and all that. The guy had to sell his phone. What happened? They just invited him. He went there and with these adverts. When he got into the room, after some few exchanges, they gave him some fake currency and said, carry it away. Oh. And whilst he was going away with it in a taxi, a group of macho men intercepted him again, beat him up and took that fake currency back to wherever he took it from. These things happen every day. And such impunity have become so much part of the society that we must crack the whip once and for all. If we do not stop it and we allow it to get deep-rooted, as Galam say, then along the line it will become very difficult to fight it because then it becomes a part and parcel of us. So I commend highly the Communications Ministry and the National Communications Authority and the Ministry of Information for the steps that are being taken. They should be robust and fearless and let justice be done even though the heavens fall.
Honorable Inisa.
Well, I'm sad. I'm sad because of the failure of regulation. And this goes even for small scale. I mean, our inability to bring it to an end our fight against small scale mining. As Manglo, the renowned writer, says that public officials will always look for rent. And in their workplaces, they always look for rent. And so if the rent aspect is aggravated when we politicize public offices. offices that are meant to provide public services, you make them political, then the rent aspect goes up. It's a direct relationship. You see, so you have Forestry Commission. It's a commission established by the Constitution. Then you make the appointment of the head political. And you make the appointment of the head of EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, political. Then you make the appointment of the Minerals Commission, head who signs all the no objection, political. You know what that means? That leads to the complicity and the ineffectiveness in the regulatory agencies to exercise regulatory supervision over the persons they are supposed to regulate. The same thing. Just buy Chinese trunk. We don't watch TV. Even not City, Joy, GTV. And we don't Pan African. We don't watch TV. You tune in the north. You buy strong. There's some device strong.
Yeah, the decoder.
The decoder. You can't count the TV stations. And the NCA is telling us that they didn't have a monitoring device, so they didn't know of the existence of strong. They didn't know that there was a device like strong. You buy it and you can download all. You can get all stations. And what do? I mean, even some from morning to evening. A country, a developing country, from morning to evening. Some people have opened radio stations just for church service, from morning to evening. From morning to evening. Well, how can we develop as a nation? When has God in creating us, gave us everything that we need to develop? Everything. He doesn't say we should call on him again. No. All we do is to thank him, to worship him, to thank him for creating us and giving us. Anything that you do as a religious person is to thank God for creating you. But not to ask him when he has given you everything. When he has given you everything. So, but he says, because we didn't have a monitoring device, so we didn't know that these things existed. We didn't know that Nana Agranda was there. You have seen her many times since 2000.
You've seen her. You've seen her on your TV.
She's on the TV several times with her smokes and cow tails. Even living cows don't do anything, let alone their tails.
Even living cows don't do anything.
Let alone their tails. They don't do anything. How can you say that a cow is dead and you have been able to aggregate the powers, supernatural powers, into the tail of a dead cow? How is it possible? Tell me, how is it possible?
Deception at the highest order.
Or you have been able to aggregate all powers that are needed, to make you a supernatural into an amulet. It's not possible. It's not possible. And sometimes I even say that go to that person who is seeking to create the money for you. Don't see that he's living on your money. Because if he had the power to create money, he would advertise. He would create it for himself.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So why? Yeah. Why? And even you find a pastor. I was so disappointed. Even though I'm not a Christian. Said that he had flown to the World Bank. And he had entered the vault. And he has collected money. Hey!
All right, well, let's go to the courts now and update our viewers and our listeners on that case I told you about earlier regarding that senior police officer, ACP Benjamin Akojo, and 9 others who were standing trial. Hansen Ajiman is my colleague at the court, and he joins us via phone. Hansen, good morning. What did the court say this morning?
So the court has granted the 10 accused persons bail. 8 of them are supposed to meet a bail condition of 2 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, and are supposed to report to the BNI 2 times every week, and then 2 others, that is ACP Benjamin Agojo, and also the colonel involved in this particular case have been granted bail to the tune of 1 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties. And then, basically what has happened is that the Attorney General has discontinued the previous case, which was treason felony against the 10, and now has arraigned the 10 with new charges, which include high treason, conspiracy to commit high treason, and abetment to commit high treason.
Okay.
The case is over now, the lawyers for the accused persons are trying to execute the bail conditions. But the Attorney General is supposed to actually make his disclosures known by 17th May 2021. And the next agenda date is 25th May 2021, where a case management conference will be done. The Attorney General has revealed that it is going to use, he's going to use 19 witnesses in prosecuting this particular case and other facts that were gathered during the previous case, which includes the plot by the alleged plot by these persons to take over the reins of government and to ask the president to renounce his presidency when that happens. All these allegations are issues that have come up in court today.
Okay, you talk about the new charges. What was their plea?
So all the 10 accused persons pleaded not guilty to the charges of either high treason, conspiracy to commit high treason, or abetment to commit high treason.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Hansen Ajiman, my colleague, reporting from the courts. And there are more updates on the story when you visit our website, citynewsroom.com. On radio, we'll bring you news updates. Also at 8 p.m. on City TV will be the City Newsroom. I will bring you more on this particular story. This is still the big issue. We are taking our final break and we'll be back to wrap up.
I feel at home whenever I'm in front of the camera. It reminds me of the time when I was a little boy. I used to entertain my family.
After all, it's our story. For the best of your original dramas, telenovelas, and sports, get your GoTV decoder, GoTenna, and a month of GoTV Plus for as little as 109 cedis. Download my GoTV app to easily manage your account on the go. GoTV. Love it.
Hey, Papa, no. Hey, why is your friend at all?
I was at the bar with my friend Ato. We are betting the game and tensions were high. And Ato said, Charlie, we could lose. So then I said, same day. And then,
key with the header.
Goal! I won 15,000. Then Ato said, wait, we bet the same amount. How come I only got 9,000? Now I asked, yo, you didn't bet to Bet Planet?
Wait. He didn't bet to Bet Planet?
I didn't bet to Bet Planet. Then the bartender said, Ato, you suck, oh. Sharp, I go take all my money. Then Ato said, all your money? That was quick, oh. He's betting people say, come for yours tomorrow. We went the next day and they said, come for the rest tomorrow.
For the best odds, biggest wins, and fastest payouts, choose Bet Planet.
So Ato, where you there?
I still take you inside.
This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below the age of 18.
Lawful wedded wife to having to hold from this day forward.
I do. Esther!
I knew it.
Drama saying na bit me ahwe. Ama weni agi. For HD Plus, hunu feel. My HD Plus, nya nyonko papa ama wo HD TV. For star 879# for subscribe it. Na twa weni to feel say sia.
You're welcome back to The Big Issue. I'm here with the Honorable Inusaf Hussein, the Honorable Joseph Pemka, and Franklin Kujo, who is on Zoom with us. Franklin, on the issue of the NCA, let's hear you.
You know, I was wondering what we were doing with our lives at Imani when I realized that there were a number of television stations that had a huge following. I thought the convention are working.
Franklin.
But it looks to me that we've been a lot more following than those, if you like, and there's a market for these kinds of things, really. You know, why is acting surprised, by the way? Look, we see all sort of adverts talking about, male enhancement, male organ enhancement. There are all kinds of get rich quick. And there's just a whole lot of these things happening right before our eyes. They've just been externalized into some sort of a classroom of sorts. So there's a bigger platform and there's a bigger recruitment. Maybe one of the ways to counter these exactly is to go about looking for them. I mean, there's technology now to do some of this piracy and piracy as well. Maybe we should invest a lot more into trying to counter some of these stations. But these stations are watched by people. So some cursory surveys, occasional surveys by the NCA would have been revealing all of this. The NCA should not be seen to be interested in customer satisfaction with telcos and what have you, because it appears that's the only way they can extract a lot of, should I call it, charges and fees from the telcos. They should go beyond what we now know to looking out for people who are directed for themselves some of these very fake entities. So I'm not surprised. I think we should get a lot more people into the media trying to educate people about the dangers of some of these quick fixes. Otherwise, it's a phenomenon that I suspect as part of a growing country. There'll be people who will be actively looking for ways to game the system. And in this part of our world, gaming the system also means getting into some sort of nasty occultism, getting all kinds of pariah activities going on. It's a symptom of a growing country, and the quicker we are with trying to deal with it, the better. But you see, it's not just that. There are a lot of religious, should I call them, all manner of fake entities that are daily, jarring our ears with all kinds of messages as well. Maybe we've asked for too much in a very liberalized world. I'm a libertarian. I like for all manner of voices to thrive, but certainly not this type of deviant behavior. And the clamping down is very important. And we should invest in systems that can not only be seen to be ensuring that those who are doing the right things are held to account, but those who are doing so on the blunt side of the law must also be dealt with. So it's not surprising, but we have the means to deal with it. And let's not wait until something happens. I mean, even this whole idea of the so-called ritual murder by the young people, having been influenced only because they watch Agrada TV. For me, it's even not entirely the case. I think we have to do a much more detailed, if you like, gotten the word in research, but we need to do a lot more to understand what may be responsible for some of these things as well. But it's pure evil to hear some of these stations really propagate their trade.
Okay. Just before you go, there's the group of the money doublers, the ritualists, and there's also the Christian channels. And that has been quite a dicey area, because the moment you talk about that, people feel you're attacking their religion and their right to have a dedicated channel to worship their God or to serve whichever authority they seem to be serving. How do we,
When Jesus Christ turned water into wine, or fed the multitudes with 5 loaves of fish and forgotten what it is, the 5 loaves of bread and a few fish. These were recorded to be acts of awe. Even the Jews did not think of him as a real Messiah. They thought of him as a criminal. All apologies. Look, we cannot be here in this day and age and expect anybody seriously in religion telling me that, well, we can do this for you if you touch this part of the television station, what money is in your pocket to double. These are criminals. There's a movie, I don't know whether you've seen the movie The Leap of Faith. But there was this young man who in the West was trying to use all sorts of means to entice people to come to church. it involved physical shocks. They had all this type of electric shockers in the hands, and then as soon as they lay their hands on you, you start behaving as if you've been affected by, sorry again to use the word, epilepsy. They start acting in all manner of ways. There was a time when he told people to leave their purses in a hole, in an office or so, and that by the time they got home, their monies would be doubled. Indeed, what happened was that his followers were actively doubling every money that was in everybody's purse. So we've seen all of these before. Didn't a Jehovah's Witness man say that the world was coming to an end? People started following foolishly, and then all of a sudden, nothing happened. And we've seen all of this. And Jesus Christ himself has said it, that there'll be people who come in my name and all manner of persons. You should be able to have the presence of mind to identify them. If anybody tells you that if you do not do any hard work, your money that you have will double, it's institutionalized laziness, and I think it's even evil. So I don't know how to differentiate the money doublers from those who tell me that by some supernatural act of faith, my money will double if I do nothing. I don't get it, really.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'll take your final comment.
And the one has...
Franklin, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I said that as a Catholic, you see, we did a lot of evil things in the past. We've learned a lot out of it. So we don't blame people we've learned a lot of things. Let's not reinvent it.
Okay. All right, we've got some 4 minutes to go. Honorable Minister, I wanted to touch on the court case before you.
Very well. Court case, I think that I should implore the Attorney General to expedite action on this matter. I mean, this matter has taken too long. Initially, the charges were ludicrous, but he's changed it. High treason is a creation of the Constitution. That is person seeking to overthrow the Constitution commits that crime. So let's see what evidence they have got that can establish, because it has dire consequences for these people. The issue Franklin has raised is an issue that everybody should be interested in. You see, religion is purely a personal matter. Purely personal. Even God created it so. But because we are adherents of the same faith, it has also got a social aspect that you come together. But it's a deeply personal thing. I mean, even look at the monks. Even my religion, we are told that the Holy Prophet used to retire to caves.
Okay.
To reflect. Because it was personal to him. Okay? Why would we want to foist these views on people? I mean, even Jesus Christ had the presence of mind to flog people in the church who were acting.
They were using his father's house for business.
Gambling.
But if people are telling you to bring, they can change this, they can come and buy holy water, are they not using the church for business? These were the same people the type of people that Jesus Christ flocked in church, because they were using his father's house for business. They shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
No nation has ever developed on the back of lawlessness and indiscipline. No nation. We need to be we need to be law-abiding citizens, and we need to be disciplined.
Thank you. Honorable Pemka.
Well, my last word will be that my elder brother and then my brother Franklin, they've said it all. A summary of all that we've said this morning is that if you want to succeed in life, apply yourself with all care and hard work and try to do everything within your capacity legally to assert yourself, and I know you will achieve success. Nothing comes on a silver platter. What is so attractive? Remember that the death that kills a man comes like an appetite, and all of us to be cautious for things that appear too good to be true.
Thank you. So that's the Honorable Joseph Pemka, former Deputy Attorney General. He was here in studio with Honorable Inusa Hussaini, former Lands and Natural Resources Minister. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. He joined us via Zoom. We also had Hanosu Kranting, Associate Executive Director for WACAM, Richard Elima, Program Specialist Development Minerals at UNDP. The Honorable Kojo Oppong, Information Minister, also joined in at a point. Thank you so much for listening and watching The Big Issue today. My name is Abnanya Michampedu. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.